Hello and welcome to round 2 of the Parenting Roundabout podcast. I'm Terri Morrow and I'm here with Catherine Holeko. Say hi, Catherine.
Hi.
Usually on this podcast, we talk about parenting issues, but once a week, Catherine and I like to get together to discuss TV, movies, books, and other entertainment topics because it's nice to talk about something other than parenting for a change. This week, we're finally back to watching The West Wing. Yay! Thanks for ending the vacation, West Wing Weekly people. It's about flippin' time. And we have a challenge related to another TV show of the past. But first, we are continuing with The Good Place, watching new episodes as they air on Thursday nights or possibly the next day or the next night, depending on our schedules. But the same week. Watch it in the same week.
Yes.
So, Catherine, what did you think of this week's episode, Rhonda, Diana, Jake, and Trent? Poor Trent. Trent was having a hard night.
Oh, when Eleanor asked him asked Judy if he lost his lucky bookmark, and he panicked.
And at first it seemed like it would be a sarcastic, nasty thing to say, yes. And in fact, he does have a lucky bookmark.
Yeah, I think that she was just, teasing him, and then it turned out to be true.
Yes.
So, yeah, I mean, there was so many good lines in it, and then, it ends, and it kind of gets you in the feels right there at the end. So
I could kind of see where that was going, and I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
He's a real human boy.
Yes, exactly.
Though it was nice, the callback to the trolley problem was nice. That was very good, and I liked the way he developed that, except that in the actual trolley problem, there is no way to sacrifice yourself, is there? I guess you could jump out the window and throw your body onto the tracks, and that would slow down the train. But that assumes that it's a trolley with an open window and you have enough time.
Yeah, I actually did think the same thing, that that was a good try.
Yes.
It didn't quite work.
Well, but you know what? Michael maybe didn't study quite as hard as he should have. He was just focusing on torture when they were doing that chapter. So
that is true.
there are various permutations of the trolley problem in which you are on a bridge overlooking the tracks and you can push somebody off the bridge to block the tracks.
Uh-huh.
But that you would have to be on a bridge and then dive over yourself. Then that would make sense. Mm-hmm. That permutation of the trolley problem would make sense. But still, it was a nice gesture and it was a sweet callback and a very nice moment between the two of them. And this episode was a little scary for me. I felt like they were in more imminent peril than they've necessarily been ever. Mm-hmm. Certainly bad things were always just over the horizon for them, terrible, torturous things. But they were actually, in the middle of things amongst people who could do them harm.
Yes.
And that was a little difficult. Mm-hmm. I paused it a few times and just thought, I'm going to do something else for a little while. I'm not going to come out of this commercial just yet.
Right.
But then I watched it again, so once I knew where it was going. Mm-hmm. But, when they said they were going to have to go through the bad place, I thought they were going to have to go through, all the people being tortured and stuff. I was imagining them, going through hell.
Yeah.
And instead they were going through Bad Place HQ, which isn't really what he said in the beginning.
Right.
So, but this was a lot more fun.
Yes, absolutely. The museum of annoying obnoxiousness, or whatever it was called.
Yes, and we got as I expected would happen somewhere along the line, a cameo by Dax Shepard,
Kristen Bell. Right, exactly. Yes, and he was very funny. Yes,
playing a demon.
A demon from the...
a bro-y demon.
From the toxic masculinity department.
That's right. This was where our details this episode were courtesy of Bad Place HQ, where there was one department was real torture-y sounding things, and then another department was children's dance recitals and weekend IKEA. And the museum of the mildly crappy or whatever it was that all the terrible things that have been immortalized, like flossing in public and
yes, terrible.
So that was good. Terrible things, well deserving of torture. But so those little items were, that they all wear axe, and this is why I became a 45-year-old white male because I can only fail up. Lots of nice little lines.
I felt like
courtesy of the demons.
Felt like Jason had some good lines that made me laugh so hard, like the Molotov cocktail. And then I had a different problem.
That's right. Which is, you know what? Sometimes you just want to change problems. But then, you know what? They mentioned that. And then at the end, he saved them.
Chekhov's Molotov.
That was awesome. I did not see that coming, but that pocket square came in handy. That was very good. I liked that. There's lots of nice little callbacks and stuff. And Tahani doing her American accent.
NASCAR ketchup.
I'm not quite sure why the Bad Place HQ is in the 40s.
Yeah.
That has never really been explained. And also why these demons, who are presumably magical beings, they certainly have Janets who can do anything, have to take an old-timey train to get where they're going. It seems like it's very picturesque, but it seems somewhat inefficient.
That's a good question.
But still fun. Gives them time for exposition. They apparently had somebody who did who did Eleanor's hair on the way too. I mean, I guess she was wearing a wig because Tahani was wearing a wig, but she had those perfect 40Z curls. So interesting decisions being made in the script department about how to depict all of this stuff, and I am there for that. So very fun.
Yeah. So next week we'll get to find out what happens through the portal.
Presumably, we'll either find out what happens through the portal, or we'll find out what happens to Michael.
Right, or both.
One or the other.
I don't know.
Or both. The title of the episode is The Burrito, which has me a little worried after we know what happens with pancakes and The Good Place. So foodstuffs could be dangerous. That was another funny thing they had, though, when they had passing around the hors d'oeuvres, and it was like soul food from Maine and bagels from Arkansas and an egg salad sandwich from a hospital vending machine in Azerbaijan.
So good.
Hors d'oeuvres from hell.
Good.
Very funny.
They are having a good time.
So, and you know what? They did call out the fact that there is now no curse filter.
I know. I thought of you when that happened.
Nobody felt like saying fork, even under these extremely special circumstances. They're just getting their cursing muscles back. So they're still within NBC's bounds of permissibility. I don't know. I think I might have said fork a few times during the various hijinks they were involved in there were I, Eleanor. But, you know, I guess you have to just suspend disbelief a wee bit. Everything else makes perfect sense.
Everything else is just what you'd expect from hell.
Yes. So, anything else to say about The Good Place before we move on?
No, I'm excited to keep going.
Other than that, only two more episodes this season.
That and I thought, oh, wait, we just started.
Although, you know what? This is another episode that could easily have been a season-ending cliffhanger.
Absolutely.
What is this? Every episode, they make you go, I have no idea what next week could possibly be. That's a certain skill to that. And nerve. Immense amounts of nerve. Well, moving on to favorite TV shows of another sort, we finally got back to the West Wing. We have been taking a break along with the West Wing Weekly, waiting for them to get back so that we can continue watching on the same schedule that they are. And they finally moseyed on back into their studio for this week. So we watched the episode Holy Night, a Christmas episode, which would have been nice to do a few weeks ago, but who's counting? So a fairly Toby-centric episode, but also with good Josh Donna stuff, and the president and Leo beating themselves up over something that was quite a while ago that happened, and now they're just now starting to think, gee, we're going to be tortured by this for the next little while. And also Danny comes back as part of that plot. And we meet Zoe's horrible boyfriend, who Charlie is not having any of.
And as they pointed out on the podcast, we find out that, you kind of assumed that Charlie and Zoe were not together anymore just because you hadn't seen her in forever. But now you get the confirmation that, in fact, that does seem to be the case.
Yes.
So.
not only is she dating someone else, she's dating someone French.
And royal.
Kind of
or
full
noble
of himself.
Or whatever. Like when she said,
yes.
But you'd never know. Well, unless you looked at him. Like, yes, I'm sure I could tell just by looking at him.
Zoey, what is the matter with you? You are better than
Charlie
this girl.
Is better than this.
But I can't say anything without spoiling, so yeah. Should have stuck with Charlie. So what did you think of the episode?
Well, I mean, it starts with this flashback to 1954, where you feel like you're watching an entirely different show or a movie or something that's like a...
Did I tape the wrong thing? No,
Netflix?
Did I click the wrong thing on Netflix?
So that's kind of wild. And,
yes.
You know,
until he says his kid's name is Tobias, and you're like...
Right.
Little Toby.
So, and it starts talking in Yiddish, and they don't even have they don't have subtitles for the beginning part of it. So, yeah, it's pretty wild. But I like a Toby episode when I can get one.
Oh, and a poor Will episode.
Yes,
he got off on the wrong foot.
Yes, poor Will.
Oh, but he was in the credits. I saw that before they mentioned it on the podcast. I had to rewind and look again.
Yeah.
There he is.
Yes, I noticed that also. So that's
exciting
for Joshua Molina.
Yes, it is.
Although, I mean, he didn't have a huge. I mean, he didn't have a lot of screen time. There was the whole thing of him, being afraid to meet the president, basically.
Yeah, and also not wanting to work in the West Wing because he knew that people would hate him, and then every time you see his office, there's more crud in it that people have put in as a hazing. Right. So he did. Mm-hmm. He had a number of scenes. They were short, but he got a little. Right. He got a little time in there. And poor Josh, transparently wishing that he could spend the holiday with Donna. To the point where Leo tells him to get it together.
Right. I loved that delivery by John Spencer. Like, just get it.
If you think you've been hiding this well, that is not the case.
Yeah. No.
And he knows it. But, and she knows it too. So that was kind of fun.
Yes.
And poor Josh also being sent off on all these impossible tasks that, even the people asking for them really deep down know that there's no possible way he's going to succeed. But he's a good soldier. Right. And he respects the people who are asking him. And what are you going to say? No? So,
right. To the president.
Exactly. Really, Mr. President, I'd like to get home. So.
Right.
Yeah, that's kind of fun. And nice to see Danny back, although the merriment of that kind of goes plonk pretty quick when he starts telling his story.
Right.
And,
and that was quite a kiss that he delivered as Santa.
And she immediately knew it was him based on the kiss, so. Well, there must be some history going on that we have not been privy to.
Right.
So it was nice. It was nice. I liked the episode better than I thought I would. I didn't remember it particularly at all, other than the main plot. And I enjoyed it a lot. It was nice to get back to these characters, and there was nothing really dramatic going on. It was just mostly, a long night at work, and periodically handsome young men would start singing, and that was enjoyable.
Exactly. It had a little soundtrack because you had
yes.
the Quiff and Poofs in the background.
They've done that before where there's somebody singing in the background. I think the last holiday thing. Well, there was the one with Noel where it was horns that were making Josh flip out, but, where you just sort of walk around the White House and there's music every time you go around a corner. So that was nice. They were good, and it was fun on the West Wing Weekly podcast to have a couple of those guys on who just seemed to get a kick out of the fact that they were at one point in time on the show.
Yeah. Yeah, it was fun to hear from them and how it went down for them.
And if they weren't able to do it, they would have gotten the group from Harvard, but they would have had to pretend to be the Whiffenpoofs.
Yeah. Like such an insult.
But Yeah, so it was nice to get back to it. It was a nice episode. Not a ton to say about it. A lot of it was putting pieces in place for future stuff.
Yes.
But a little more enjoyably than that is usually done. Maybe because it had the holiday theme wrapping around it. And we start to get a little taste of what's going to go on with the people suing Andy for being pregnant while running for office.
Yeah, that was another good scene.
That same slimy guy from the first time with Leo.
And that was another excellent, Toby scene with him.
Yes.
Talking to the, being extremely begrudging. As he had every right to be, so.
Absolutely, yeah. And, so that was a lot of nice little scenes. Sort of on a bunch of different tangents.
Yes.
And we got a little bit of Stanley Keyworth in there.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
Adam Arkin happened to be in town. Right. You want me to drop by and do like one scene?
All these people you got, because you got Zoey, Elizabeth Moss, you got Danny Kincannon came back after a while, you got Stanley coming back after a while, so. Yeah.
They were having a big party for everybody who's ever been on the West Wing, and while you're in town for the party, you want to just come and shoot one single scene.
We'll just, find something for you to do. All of you.
We'll write a little something in. Well, that was fun, and glad to be back to watching this show.
Yeah.
Although the next, I don't know, my enthusiasm may wane in a short while. This is not this. Well, yeah. Can't say anything. All right, so moving on to another old show that some people remember with fondness. For your challenge of me, we listened to some episodes of Little House on the podcast.
Right.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about those?
So as part of the previously.tv network of podcasts, of which there are seemingly
of which
100.
There are many. Why aren't we doing a podcast for them? They've got so many of them. They should throw us a bone.
So they started this short little weekly podcast called Little House on the Podcast, where Kim Reed watches an episode of Little House on the Prairie from back in the day, and she's going, one by one through them, and she gives just a 15 or so minute recap of the episode. And she's very funny, and she comes out with things like comparing the Olsen family to the Kardashians, and talking about hot prairie goss. So it's really a lot of fun, and I've been listening to it all along. I have not been watching the shows. I just listen.
Well, do you remember the episodes?
Sometimes I do, yeah, because I definitely watched them, when they aired. But that was many years ago. Yes. So what do you think? I picked out two for you to listen to. One was when the family sort of briefly adopts a raccoon for a pet. And then there's a case of mistaken identity with the raccoon and a wild raccoon.
Yeah, that one hit home for me because, as you know, I have family members who have adopted a raccoon.
Which I still can't believe, but
yeah.
I mean, yes, I believe you're telling the truth, but I can't believe that happened.
They kept it for many years. It grew up with their kids. It wrestled with their son. It was a member of the family on the Christmas cards and recently passed away. So R.I.P. Ringo. I mean, no disrespect, but so this episode had me laughing all the more for that because many of the questions and the observations about having a wild animal in your home are ones which I have had myself, but not spoken. So it was. I thought these episodes were really fun. You want to say what the other episode was?
Yeah, the other one was where they had two different titles. So on the podcast feed, I think it's the title of the actual episode from Little House, but their title on their coverage on their website are more interesting. And in this one is called Time for Little Amputation on the Prairie. Where Ma is home alone and she has an infected cut and she's, delirious and wielding a large knife. So,
yes, I hope that Bacitracin, Neosporin, Johnson & Johnson, all these people bought advertising time when that episode originally showed, because it's like, let this be a lesson to you. Do not tend to your child with the spilled jam or whatever. Go put something on that cut right now. This is how it used to be when you didn't have these things, or when you didn't do this. You sat down with a sharp knife by the fire and contemplated the unthinkable. That was pretty harrowing. Yes. Even just her description of it, not even watching it. It was like, I know. Yeah. I don't want to hear this. I mean, I was pretty sure she wasn't going to actually do it, but
I think you would have remembered that.
Thinking of it and all the delirious close-ups and things that she was describing were fairly upsetting, and all the missed connections or people should have come in.
She's so sweaty.
The mister really hit her neck hard. But so I really enjoyed the podcast. I like that they're quite short, so it's not a big commitment. You can just kind of have it on and listen to it. It's funny. You don't have to have seen the episode at all. But it helps if you have just a sort of a generational memory of the show. I mean, I can picture everybody in my head. I knew who everybody was. I watched some of it. I don't know if I watched it faithfully, but I'm aware enough of it so that I can understand what she's talking about. But, she's very funny, and the jokes she's making about things and the observations. And I enjoyed in the raccoon one where she was her continuing sympathy for the dog, who was the only person thinking clearly, the only creature thinking clearly through this whole thing. It's like, it's a wild animal. Get it out of here.
Does not belong. Come on.
Poor Jack. Nobody was listening to Jack.
And also
and he got bit for his troubles.
Thread throughout all of them about how dumb she thinks Carrie is and how pointless that character is. And she's like 3 at the time. So there's that as a recurring theme, and also when she got to the ends of an episode and will say, "And we never saw them again." That happens frequently also.
Yeah. Yes. It's a very fun idea to take an old show and do these funny wrap-ups of it. I think that's sort of their specialty at previously.tv. I think that's what most of their podcasts are. But there is a lot to say, and a lot of these shows, sadly, were on before the time when people could share their humorous thoughts with others. This is pre-blogging, pre-Twitter, pre-podcasts, where you might talk to your family about it afterwards, or perhaps if you had a friend you knew watched it, but it wasn't necessarily a water cooler show. So it's nice to go back and revisit them and give them the benefit of snark that today's shows so enjoy. Previously.tv providing a valuable service.
Yeah.
So that's fun. I'm going to have to look at all the other ones they have and see if there's any other shows that I know of.
You kind of recognize.
Back to.
There seems to be something wrong with their feed right now, because I'm having trouble getting new ones, because there's a new one every week. But
I can get the Extra Hot Great, which I think we both listen to. It's like their flagship podcast, I guess. I can get new episodes on my phone, but not on iTunes on my computer, which I don't understand what the difference would be. But they do seem to be having feed problems of some sort.
I've never tried to. I always just get that one on my phone. So
Yeah, I usually do, but I've been using my phone for other things lately, so I occasionally listen to podcasts on my computer, and it's like everything else is there but that one. Right. I know there's new ones of that. Why aren't they here? So I don't know, but so that was a lot of fun. Good. Thank you for spurring me to listen to that, because they've mentioned it a lot of times on Extra Hot Great, and I think, what, that sounds like fun. I should go listen to that, but then I never do.
Yeah, so, it's a lot of fun.
And I might again.
Okay.
If you hear a particularly good one, let me know. I will add it to my queue, my endless queue of podcast episodes. So, for next week, our challenge is a movie I've been thinking about challenging you to watch for a long time. It's one of those movies that is strongly in that category of not precisely good, but something about it just hits me. It's called How to Deal. I don't have the year here that it was. 1993. It was the same exact year as the West Wing episodes we're watching.
Okay.
So, and I'm challenging you to it now because one of the stars is the actor who plays Zoe's instantly hateable boyfriend, Trent Ford, who you may have seen in Gosford Park, I think was the main thing he had done biggest thing he had done before this.
Okay.
And then in the same year, he was in these little spate of West Wing episodes, and he was in this movie, How to Deal, where he plays a love interest for Mandy Moore, who you are currently enjoying in This Is Us. And also starring Allison So Good Janney, as we call her. And it's, I'll be interested to hear what you think about it. I liked it enough that I actually bought the DVD back in the day. And when I think about it now, it's like, I don't know if I can recommend this to somebody else or not. Somebody's going to watch this and say, why am I watching this? It's a mashup of 2 young adult books. But the performances are cute. The people in it are actors I like generally. And I just find it very, very watchable. So you will be watching it on a bus.
Yeah.
So we'll see if it holds your interest through that. But anyway, we'll look at Trent Ford playing a character who is just as self-confident as Jean-Paul, but somewhat more charming. Okay. At different points in the movie, it shows his range of smarmy too. Possibly you feel a little bit sorry for him and want Mandy Moore to forgive him. So we will watch that. It is available. I don't think it's streaming anywhere, so possibly you could get it at your library or you could get it on iTunes for not very much money. So, and so we will watch that for next week. We'll also be watching the episode of The Good Place called The Burrito, next to last of the season, and the West Wing episode Guns and Butter. So butter and burritos we got there. And also guns. That's going to be it for our Round 2 today. Please subscribe to our Parenting Roundabout podcast so you won't miss any of our episodes, including our daily speed rounds and weekly group chats. As always, you can find recaps, links, and an opportunity to comment on our website at parentingroundabout.com. Goodbye, Catherine.
Bye, Terri.
Goodbye, everybody.